Hello everyone and welcome back to another video where today I want to talk about something a little bit different. If you remember a couple of months ago we spoke about a ARG game on the Doctor Who website concerning UNIT and like hidden files and stuff. Well, they've recently added to this and basically it's their way of showing us the initial deleted scenes for season 2. Rather than just doing a YouTube video release, they seem to have made it into a kind of a little game thing. So I'm going to be taking you through how to see these deleted scenes, as well as what these deleted scenes actually contain as well. So sit back, relax, and subscribe, because these deleted scenes are very, very interesting, particularly the second one, which we'll get on to. So yeah, here was the initial tweet that told us about this. The TARDIS needs you. Can you help UNIT find out where on Earth the blue box is landing next? Log into UNIT HQ on the Doctor Who website now to join in the mission and unlock some special rewards. And then yeah, basically there was a picture of all the TARDISes in different, areas of the world, most of them being the UK, funny enough, despite the fact that there's a world graphic. But as you can see here, here's the website, and it's saying incident. Approximately 17:16 GMT yesterday evening during routine maintenance, the time window displayed an SOS message from the Doctor, etc, etc. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically the idea is you as a player or as someone on this website is supposed to figure out the location of the TARDIS. And the way this is done is through a website called What 3 Words, which is basically a kind of guide, a map guide thing, where you'll put in certain words and it'll take you to certain locations on the map. Obviously, by default, the website has you on the Tower of London, which is the home base of UNIT, or at least one of the home bases of UNIT. I guess they're not using that tower, although I guess it kind of makes sense because UNIT Tower doesn't exist in real life. But anyway, so the first hint is you've got to put in the password, and obviously I've already done it, which is why you can see a preview clip there. But the password comes from the UNIT headquarters email bit on the website. Specifically, I believe it's this entry from Mel Bush talking about cryptography. And it's this sentence here that you want to look for: hooked little stews, which is, if you put those 3 words into What 3 Words, will lead you to Umpire Rock, which is apparently where the TARDIS landed. So you go back to this, you type in Umpire Rock, and then you get about 7 minutes worth of deleted scenes. 2 deleted scenes in particular, and we're going to be going over the deleted scenes themselves. Sorry, I appreciate that was a lot of preamble to get to what this video is actually about, but they've made it kind of like a game thing, so I wanted to kind of explain the first step. And you can see here it says, please enjoy and await further instructions in phase 2. So I assume there's going to be more of these spread across, maybe the next couple of weeks or months. They're going to show more and more deleted scenes. But I want to talk about the scenes themselves because they're very interesting. The first one is not as interesting as the other one, but we'll go through both. The first one is the deleted scene of Conrad meeting Ruby's family for the first time. And obviously Ruby is very nervous about it. Carla is being very kind of forthright with it, basically saying, oh, it'd be weird if he stayed and stuff like that. Not really knowing how to act, basically, around Conrad and like in this new situation. And then, Ruby's mum just so happens to stop by, obviously wanted to check out the boyfriend as well. And then Cherry comes downstairs as well to start talking to him as well. So it's kind of just a scene of Ruby being kind of awkward around Conrad and them not knowing how to deal with this situation of her having a new boyfriend and all the rest of it. Don't ask me how UNIT has access to this in universe. I have no idea. But yeah, this was the first deleted scene that we got. And it's quite a long scene. It's about a minute long. So yeah, if you want to watch it, obviously you can either go to the website, or I'm going to shout out my friend Jamie over on Twitter, who has hooked us up with the scenes. The second one, though, is much more interesting to me. It's a longer version of the conflict between Belinda and the Doctor in The Robot Revolution, where basically she goes in a lot harder on him, and she mentions, among other things, a prophecy. And this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Looking at these scenes that were cut, you realise that there was actually quite a bit going on in this series that we will just never see. It doesn't just stop with the reality war. Like, there's entire plot points in this series that we will not see. But not only that, this scene, what I'm about to show you a bit of it. I don't know how much I'm going to get away with until the BBC copyright claims it. But this scene is exactly what I wanted more of in this era. More scenes of the Doctor and the companion interacting, you know, quieter scenes where they can really dig into them as characters. And to know that these scenes existed but were cut for time just makes it worse. But yeah, I'm going to give these a quick look.
Is that what you said to Sasha? Sorry. But she trusted you, and she died. Now, all I can see here is a great big temple of a spaceship. And it's empty, Doctor. It's empty. You could not have a more empty space. So maybe you invite people in and say it's destiny. Smile that smile. Which is a hell of a smile, okay? And it works. Well, it almost works.
Where was this for the rest of the series, man? Like, I know it's been said before, but where was this for the rest of the series? It just annoys me because, like, it's so obviously there. We were almost there. We almost had an interesting Doctor-companion dynamic, something fresh, of her being super skeptical of the Doctor. And it's just gone after this point. Obviously, a bit of this makes it into the original Robot Revolution, but after that, it's just gone. But what you're about to hear is her talking about the prophecy, so I'm gonna let that play.
Doctor, the only power I have in this room is to ask you if my life is in danger. With you, yes? I won't live like that. I will not. The Jarthagam, all those years ago, it said I would travel, but it never said one way.
But what if that prophecy is binding us together?
So this is what I mean, the Jarthagam. What the hell are the Jarthagam? I don't know. I'm gonna look it up actually. Is it like a folklore thing? Let me have a look. Jarthagam is the South Indian term for a horoscope, also known as a natal chart or birth chart. Okay, so she had another chart which said that it was her destiny to travel. Interesting. Like a horoscope type thing, like a star sign basically. Interesting. And that was just entirely cut from the episode, and it's mental. Obviously, we're never going to know the full extent of what was cut from this series, but it's so obvious to me that so much of this, like, era, but specifically Series 2, is not the way it's meant to be. And look, I mean, would what we have gotten be any better? I don't know, but at least this scene is the exact kind of thing I was wanting. Notice as well, obviously, likely because it's a deleted scene, so they haven't got the score over it, but there's something about having these quieter scenes with, like, just no score that just makes them all the more punchy, and I kind of wish that that was used more often as well. The fact that they even managed in this scene to have a piece of commentary for the TARDIS being so empty, because it's empty because the Doctor is finding people to fill it up with, like, all this character stuff that's really interesting and was there, and it was just cut, and I don't know whether it was like just a runtime thing or, you know, what it was. But this is kind of the best argument I could make for episodes being longer, man, because there's some really interesting stuff here, stuff that would have really helped flesh out some of this series, and it's just not there. And I mean, it's why I've always said I don't actually think Russell is like a bad writer now or anything. I think he can still write characters, as this scene proves. It's just that, for whatever reason, you know, this era got absolutely hatchet jobbed to all hell. And again, I'm not saying that everything he wrote in its original form would have been great. I still don't love the original Susan ending, even though, you know, I probably prefer it over the Billy Piper one. But, like, man, there's so much in here that's just not a thing in season 2. And I just wonder if we did get a fuller version of season 2 that wasn't cut to high heaven as our one seems to have been, what that would look like. I mean, we saw this with season 1 as well, where there were multiple scenes in that were cut, and obviously they only released a few of them. And a fair few of them did give context to, like, some of the things that are going on in the story. The one that I immediately think of is the season 1 finale deleted scene, where it's Ncuti giving himself the whistle to basically stop Sutekh in the end. Now, don't get me wrong, is that whole thing still a little bit stupid, even with that? Yes, but does it at least give us some explanation as to how the resolution of the plot happened, and should it have been kept in? Yes. Again, I don't know who it is that's insisting on the 45-minute thing. I don't know whether it's just the BBC scheduling or whether it was Disney or whether that's just a budgetary thing. I don't know, but I think that this is my biggest piece of evidence for why that is not great. Like, this whole 2-minute long scene gives us more character than most of the rest of the series, and it was basically completely cut as a result of, you know, time constraints and stuff. I would have easily, obviously I know it doesn't work like this, but I would have easily taken out some of the more action-based stuff in some of these stories to get more scenes like this. Because it was these types of scenes that were what made the original Russell T Davies era. Watching this, I'm reminded of, you know, the dynamic between the 10th Doctor and Martha. It reminds me that, yes, it is still the same writer writing this. And again, I want to reiterate, because I want to make it vividly clear, would an uncut version of season 2, or, you know, a much less cut version or truncated version of season 2 been like the best thing ever? Probably not, and it probably would have still had a lot of flaws. But, like, I hope you can tell just by looking at this scene that, like, there was more going on here than we're privy to. And, like, I see this idea so often that Russell just can't write anymore. I just don't really, like, buy into it. He's definitely a flawed writer, 100%. But I still think he has got talent, you know what I mean? I don't know, that's a controversial thing to say whenever the current showrunner exists, because it's very easy to say, oh, you know, the current showrunner is just bad at everything. But no, like, he can clearly still write a scene with characters that's interesting, which is why it makes it all the more frustrating that there was so little of this in the actual series that we got. And that whole line as well about Belinda being like, the only power I have in this room is to ask you if my life's in danger. Like, that's, like, great dialogue, and it's just not that. I could go on about this for so long. Even the scene with Ruby, Conrad, and her parents, which I didn't play because I want to avoid the BBC kind of copyright filters like the plague, but, like, that scene adds something that was sorely lacking in this era, which was scenes where we actually got to know Ruby's family, because we were always told about how lovely Carla was, and then the only time we'd ever see her is in alternate timeline scenarios where she's being horrible to Ruby. In scenes like this, we're reminded that no, that was actually there. It was just cut. But let me know what you guys think. This was just a little bit of fun to kind of talk about this scene. As I said, if you want to check out the scenes yourself, go check out the Doctor Who website, or go check out Jamie on Twitter, who has posted them. If there are any more deleted scenes released, I'm going to check them out because this was very fun. And I will see you later.